to do, draw you a picture?
Yeah.
On the silver screen, they were lovers, heroes, and partners in crime. But behind the camera, the magic often vanished, replaced by bitter rivalries, clashing egos, and outright hatred.
He'll wear no more silver at your door.
Get ready to pull back the curtain on the off-screen drama that was often more compelling than the movies themselves. This is Old Hollywood Actors Who Refuse to Work Together. Bette Davis was a force of nature, a two-time Oscar winner who demanded perfection from herself and everyone around her. Errol Flynn was Hollywood's most beautiful man, a charming rogue who treated acting as a bit of a lark. When Warner Brothers paired them in the 1930s for films like The Private Lives of Elizabeth and Essex, sparks flew, but not the romantic kind. Davis found Flynn's lack of discipline infuriating. She respected his honesty about his own limited talent, but couldn't stand his unprofessionalism. Flynn, in turn, resented her bossy, controlling nature. Their on-set tension was legendary, with Davis once smacking Flynn so hard during a scene that it left a mark. The animosity was so real that when producer David O. Selznick wanted to cast them as Scarlett O'Hara and Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind, Davis flatly refused. She couldn't imagine Flynn pulling off the role, and more importantly, she couldn't imagine another minute on set with him. The most iconic film in history could have looked very different, all because two of its biggest stars simply couldn't stand each other. It should have been a match made in Western heaven. John Wayne, the undisputed king of the genre, and Clint Eastwood, the new gritty face of the American frontier. A film starring both would have been monumental, but it was never meant to be. Wayne, the old guard, was fiercely protective of the traditional, heroic image of the West. He saw his films as a celebration of American pioneering spirit. Eastwood, on the other hand, built his career by subverting that very image. His characters were morally ambiguous, his films dark and cynical. When Eastwood sent Wayne a script for a film called The Hostiles, hoping to co-star, Wayne was appalled. He wrote back a scathing letter criticizing Eastwood's violent and revisionist take on the West in films like High Plains Drifter. He saw Eastwood's work as an attack on the values he held dear. Eastwood tried 3 times to get the Duke on board, but Wayne wouldn't budge. It was a clash of generations, a battle for the soul of the Western, and a cinematic partnership that was destined to remain a fantasy. On the set of the 1960 epic Spartacus, 2 of Britain's greatest theatrical knights, Charles Laughton and Laurence Olivier, were reduced to what co-star Peter Ustinov described as snarling animals. Their mutual loathing was palpable. Laughton, a genius known for his difficult nature, complained endlessly about the script, his co-stars, and the production itself. He was, as Ustinov put it, always hanging around to be offended. Olivier, for his part, simply couldn't stand Laughton. He considered him a brilliant but insufferable actor. The tension escalated to the point where the two titans refused to speak to each other directly. All communication had to be passed through Peter Ustinov, who found himself playing the unwilling mediator in a feud between 2 acting legends. Olivier's response to Laughton's on-set antics was pure passive aggression. He once gave Laughton a diagram of a stage, condescendingly pointing out where he ought to stand. The film was a masterpiece, but the behind-the-scenes drama was a battle of egos that was just as epic. The set of the 1955 musical Guys and Dolls was a battleground for 2 clashing eras of Hollywood. In one corner you had Frank Sinatra, the king of old-school cool, a consummate professional who expected things done his way. In the other, Marlon Brando, the rebellious face of the new method acting, who had a deep contempt for the commercialism of Hollywood. Sinatra was furious that Brando, a notoriously bad singer, was cast in a musical role he coveted. Brando, in turn, saw Sinatra as a bully. The animosity was immediate and intense. Brando would intentionally flub his lines at the end of scenes, forcing the notoriously impatient Sinatra to do take after take of the same shot. Sinatra retaliated by refusing to engage. The set was divided into two camps, and director Joseph Mankiewicz had to use intermediaries to pass messages between his two leads. They refused to speak to each other, creating a toxic atmosphere that permeated the entire production. The film was a hit, but the feud became a Hollywood legend. The 1967 James Bond spoof Casino Royale was a chaotic, psychedelic mess of a production with 5 directors and a revolving door of writers. But the biggest source of chaos was the clash between two titans of the screen, Peter Sellers and Orson Welles. Sellers, a comedic genius, but a notoriously difficult and insecure man, had demanded that the legendary Welles be cast as the villain, Le Chiffre. But as soon as Welles arrived on set, Sellers was consumed by jealousy. Welles was jovial, beloved by the crew, and fawned over by visiting royalty. Sellers grew paranoid, convinced Welles was trying to upstage him. It got so bad that after shooting just a few shots together, Sellers refused to be on set at the same time as Welles. The rest of their scenes had to be shot separately, with stand-ins. Sellers' behavior grew more erratic, and he eventually walked off the film before his scenes were complete, forcing a massive rewrite. It was a battle of egos that nearly derailed an already chaotic production. Preston Sturges' 1941 classic Sullivan's Travels is a masterpiece of romantic comedy, but behind the scenes, the romance was dead on arrival. The film's star, Joel McCrea, could not stand his leading lady, Veronica Lake. Lake had a reputation for being difficult, and she lived up to it on set. She was consistently late, didn't know her lines, and hid her 6-month pregnancy from the production, causing delays and budget overruns. McCrea, a consummate professional, was exasperated. The tension was so bad that by the end of the shoot, he reportedly declared that life's too short for 2 films with Veronica Lake. He wasn't kidding. A year later, when he was offered the lead role in the comedy I Married a Witch, he eagerly accepted until he found out his co-star would once again be Veronica Lake. McCrea immediately dropped out of the project, unwilling to endure another production with the notoriously difficult actress. His hatred for her was so strong that he walked away from a starring role just to avoid her. John Wayne was a Hollywood icon, a man who embodied a certain brand of American masculinity. But his right-wing politics were as famous as his films, and they cost him at least one major collaboration. In the late 1950s, Wayne was finally ready to direct his passion project, a sprawling epic about the siege of the Alamo. He wanted Charlton Heston, a rising star known for playing larger-than-life figures like Moses, for the key role of Jim Bowie. But Heston, at the time a staunch Democrat, wanted nothing to do with it. He publicly stated that Wayne's involvement as director and his notorious right-wing views were the reason he turned the part down. The two titans of the screen never worked together. Years later, Heston himself would become a prominent conservative figure and expressed regret for passing on The Alamo. But at the time, the political divide was too great to bridge, even for a project as epic as the story of The Alamo. They were the biggest names in Hollywood, but their egos were even bigger. On screen, they created magic. Off-screen, they created chaos. These legendary feuds remind us that sometimes the greatest drama happens when the cameras stop rolling. Which of these Hollywood rivalries do you find the most fascinating? Let us know in the comments. If you love uncovering the secrets of the silver screen, hit like, subscribe, and join us for more stories from the golden age of Hollywood. Thank you for watching.